Hello and welcome to the Ending Body Burnout Show. We are your hosts, Chris and Philly, co-founders of a multi-award-winning functional medicine practice, serving busy people with energy, mood, and gut issues.
While busyness, addictive doing, people-pleasing, and perfectionism might be the norm, it's not normal, and it's a major contributor to health issues.
Our goal with this show is to give you a holistic root cause approach to healing your body so that you don't have to continue doctor or diet hopping or popping a gazillion supplements hoping something might stick.
So get ready to heal your body, get your spark back, deeply connect with yourself, and step into the life of your dreams.
Let's dive in. Oh, greetings and salutations. Welcome to this episode of the Ending Body Burnout Show. It is Chris and Philly here. We have got a Connect the Dots episode for you today. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this, but we're going to be connecting something that is new to me. And Philly, how do you pronounce this?
Mastocytosis.
Mastocystosis.
Also known as mast cell syndrome, which will probably be more on people's awareness in terms of what mastocytosis is.
Rightio. All right. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. What are we going to talk about first? We'll bring this up.
Yeah. So I mean, if you have been listening to our podcast for a while, I'm sure you would have heard of Connect the Dots. But for those who might just be joining us just for this episode, welcome. We run different types of episodes on our podcast. It's almost kind of like a TV show, really. Different themes, TV show. But today we're actually taking a listener's case. She has sent through an application form and she's given us lots of information around some health issues she's currently struggling with. And in these Connect the Dots, we put our detective hats on and we're connecting the dots of health symptoms and identifying potential physical body system imbalances as well as deeper metaphysical root causes, and really opening up a conversation around how you could look at this in a really holistic way. So we are going to be focusing on health anxiety, a body that is very hyperreactive, and mastocytosis or mast cell syndrome. Thank you so much for sending in your case and letting us investigate this on our podcast today. And if you do want your own case reviewed, you can jump down to the show notes. There's an application form link that you can fill in and we can review your case on a Connect the Dots episode. Or you can also start your journey for real by booking in for a live Connect the Dots initial consult with me. And you can also check out the link there. When this podcast goes out, my calendar might not actually be opening. I might not have any available spots. If there is, jump on one. But the reason for that is we will be very close to opening our doors to our Ending Body Burnout method. So I think we'll be about 3 weeks away by the time that this episode releases, in which case when you join the program, your very first one-on-one is with me and we will connect the dots inside the Ending Body Burnout method. So you can check out all of that in the show notes.
Chung, chung.
All right, so before we jump into the case, just as always, because we are taking a real life case and workshopping it on the episode, is that this is just for informational, educational purposes only. It doesn't replace having an official consult with us or, with another practitioner or medical doctor. So what we're discussing today isn't coming from a place of advice giving. It's more education, allowing, planting some seeds and looking at these really common health issues, especially things like health anxiety and hyperactivity, from a holistic, deep root cause lens. Okay, so let's dive in to some of these symptoms that this lovely woman is struggling with at the moment. So she did mention that she has health anxiety and she feels like this manifests as psychosomatic type symptoms. So one day she'll wake up with heavy legs, the next day she'll feel short of breath, the next day she'll feel numbness, The next day she'll feel shaky and her heart will be racing, although she said she's almost conquered that one, so that's awesome. This also, or some other symptoms that can show up are brain fog, lightheadedness, and she said she also has a lot of allergies due to the condition mastocytosis that was diagnosed in 2016. Now, in her words, she says, I deep down believe that I don't have this, or that I can beat this, and that I can live normally again. But with all my research and trials, my blood tests still show elevated tryptase, which is part of the condition, and I have the mast cell spots on my skin to confirm. So we'll dig into that from a belief point of view later on when we get to the metaphysical root causes. But that's, I love that she wrote that. I deep down believe I don't have this. However, I'm also, there's like evidence too that's showing that my body has this. What do I do with this information? She also said that her anxiety and her allergic responses closely mimic each other. So it sounds like they're happening in tangent. If she's feeling really anxious, her body will flare up and show up as allergic responses, and there might even be something happening vice versa. Her body might be feeling very hyperreactive, and then that can set off the anxiety. She also mentioned that she's been in hospital 3 times in the last 2 years, which is, I think, just evidence of that this is quite a consuming experience for this woman. It's not just, I have a few little health symptoms. It sounds like it's really affecting her life. And the last time was in January of this year. It was and it re-triggered the bad health anxiety that she developed back in her early 20s when she had a health scare. Okay, so that's everything that's going on.
Yeah, I just want to have a scroll and just make sure I've got all that. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Okay, so when I'm working with a client and I'm having a connect the dots session with them, I always like to get an indication of when symptoms first started. So what was the onset, what was happening leading up to it and around the time, and also what the person has tried so far. So in terms of onset, in her early 20s, she woke up one morning with a very severe weird headache and difficulty breathing. And ever since then, she has had health anxiety on and off, and it's been made worse with the mast cell diagnosis in 2016. So it sounds like things started around the 20s. But even before that, I had anxiety before this and can remember when I was 16 years old being petrified of dying going on my first plane trip. So if this woman was in our presence in real life and we had the opportunity of asking more questions, I dig into childhood as well and teen life to determine where is this anxiety coming from, and also like what patterns, what programming are you running, what was it like growing up in your family, what was school life like, because that'll give us heaps of data around what led to this point where the straw broke the camel's back, for a want of a better saying.
Saying. Better saying. Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of what was happening leading up, so she said she was under really high stress before the first health scare in her early 20s. The doctor I saw said I had a bad virus. So it sounds like she had a real physical virus sickness. But then it caused a health scare. I don't have enough information around what happened with this health scare and what the doctors might have said or what her experience was, maybe in a hospital, but it sounds like there's some medical trauma there, which wired the brain to start looking for all the reasons why the body was going to get sick again or worse. And she said during this time I developed anxiety because I lost trust with my body and my health. And this is a really key piece to this puzzle, this very small phrase, I lost trust in my body and my health, which we'll come back to later when we get to metaphysical, deeper root causes. She also mentioned that she was in an abusive relationship when she got diagnosed with the masto in 2016, and this was a really high stress time in her life. So there was also mental, emotional, life stresses and abusive trauma, which would have just caused so much heightened tension in this woman's brain and body. And we'll circle back to all of that very shortly. In terms of what she's tried so far, so again, this is another key question I always ask a new client when I'm having a connect the dots. It's like, so what have you tried so far? Because we're big fans of not reinventing the wheel. A connect the dots is really like the most valuable piece of a connect the dots initial consult when done in real time. Is we can look at the missing pieces. It's like, what haven't you tried? Or maybe what have you tried, but why did your body not respond to that protocol? Or what caused you to stop doing X, Y, and Z? And we can really get to the nitty-gritty of the missing pieces that have prevented someone from being able to heal based on all the things they've tried in the past. So in terms of treatment, this woman said she's currently blaming her symptoms on anxiety and trying to conquer them. Again, it's language. We're going to come back to all of this. This is a really key piece to the puzzle as well. She says she's researched and tried almost everything to beat my anxiety, and she is now exhausted. She's restricted everything she eats and drinks. She's ditched chemicals and all the toxic cleaning products. She's worked with specialists who treat mastocytosis, and she's discussed with him that she thinks she just needs to reset her body and her gut health, which is really interesting. But, and this is in the application form, but he strongly advised me to not do that. But I believe this is the answer. So this is very interesting. I'm assuming this is a medical doctor that she's working with, a medical specialist. I'll talk more about gut health and mastocytosis and allergies and hyperreactivity really soon. But what I wanted to mention right now is that this is a sign that this woman is listening to herself, which is great. There's so much hope there to be able to heal. She hasn't given up or given over to the authorities. But also this experience can... I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about people who might be listening to this and who you might have gone to a medical doctor and suggested something a bit alternative that might be outside of their scope of their toolbox, and you've kind of been brushed aside. Essentially, that's gaslighting. It can cause medical trauma. It can cause more, or for that person, they might collect more evidence of a lack of autonomy over their body, which can cause more confusion, and it can block you from healing. So I think that this is an important piece to what's happening here as well. Okay, there's lots of other information that she gave. I'll just see if I can condense this. So she has been on medication for the masto, and she's taken iron supplements. And then she had a really bad reaction to something, whether it was the iron supplement or the medication or a combo of both, but that put her into hospital again. She's very sensitive to red color in different formulas or foods or medication. And yeah, so this definitely isn't a woman who hasn't been trying to get better. But it sounds like all the things that she's tried to internally put into her mouth, whether it's through medication.
Wait, did you just say this is not a woman who's trying to get better?
No, this is a woman.
Sorry, yeah.
This is a woman. So
you can see she's trying. She wants to. She's trying.
Yeah, trying very hard. And it sounds like a lot of the internal things she's putting into her body. So medication, even supplements that might have different colors, preservatives in them. It's causing a lot of reactions. So this is a sign of a brain-body immune system that's on high alert, and it's a common pattern in those who respond negatively to medication and supplements. So, which can be really frustrating because it's like, I'm trying and I'm like taking advice of all of these people and these things help other people, but why is my body responding to them? And it can cause a bit of a hopeless spiral for some people as well, because then it's like, well, what else is there? I don't know. Like, I'm doing all the things that should help, but it's actually making me feel worse. She's also tried some mental emotional support, so talking to a counsellor on the phone. She's seeing a psychologist. She's tried meditation, distraction, mindfulness, positive thinking, lots of little tricks like cold water, the dive method, rubber band on my wrist, but still struggling with the health anxiety and the allergies. Okay. This is super interesting. At the end of the question around like what have you tried, she did write, sorry for writing so much. In short, I believe that chronic health anxiety has caused my symptoms and I'm looking for a permanent solution because I have lost too much of my life worrying about all of this. This is a really common anxiety pattern and a really common perfectionism pattern, to feel like one needs to share it all, like share everything. It's like, oh, if I miss a piece of information, then I'm not going to get the solution right now that I want. And then feeling like they have to apologize for it. So that's, again, like when we get to the metaphysical side of things, it's just kind of like the way you do anything is the way you do everything. So if there's this perfectionism pattern, I need to share all of it, but then I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm too much. Now I have to apologize for it. That's like chronic dysregulation happening 24/7 if that is the way that one is living their life. What I do love about this short paragraph is the last part, the last statement, where she's looking for a permanent solution so she can live and enjoy her life. So they're still wanting, they're still hoping, which means that one can heal. Okay, so let's break this down. So we'll look at what some physical imbalances that would be worth looking at and worth supporting that could be leading to these symptoms and conditions. And then we'll tap into deeper metaphysical patterns and programming and beliefs. And we want to end off with some really tangible things that like you could take away. And by you, we're not just talking to the listener who sent in this case. I feel like this will be, there are many things in this case that I think many people will resonate with. Okay, so you can't have symptoms without there being some sort of body system imbalance or burnout. So let's look at the body systems first. It sounds like has done a lot of medical system testing and treating, and also a lot of lifestyle support or changes. So she mentioned doing diets and going low tox, meditating, but there's no mention of doing any functional medicine, lab testing, or natural medicine support. So I thought we'd start here. And let's start off with health anxiety, because this sounds like it was the first major symptom that showed up early in her 20s or even in her teen years, which then caused a cascade effect of other symptoms and conditions. So when I think about anxiety, I always think about two main areas first. So especially for this case, so I'd be thinking about the adrenals and also the brain. So it sounds like this woman is in a very hyper-vigilant state, and it's showing up physically in the body too. So it's not just in her thought patterns, but now her immune system is in a heightened state as well, or it's tagging a bunch of stuff as unsafe and leading to mast cell overreaction. So I'd definitely be thinking about looking at the adrenals, because the adrenals are going to be secreting cortisol, which is your fight, flight, freeze, like your stress hormone, and also DHEA, which helps to balance and regulate cortisol. And so if there is adrenal fatigue, then it can exacerbate health anxiety or anxiety in general, because your physical part of you struggles to self-regulate if those hormones are out of whack or really depleted. I'd also think about testing some really key neurotransmitters which are really important for mental health. So serotonin would be the first one that I'll think about first of all. So serotonin's lovely. It's for safety and peace and calm and having really good restorative sleep at night. And if that neurotransmitter depletes, then you don't have that lovely brain chemical to be able to compensate when you're feeling stress. So it's something stressful might happen, whether it's perceived or real stress or something inside or outside of you. If serotonin is really depleted, then it's really hard to just kind of like, I don't know, reframe or thought pattern your way out of the experience of feeling unsafe, because serotonin is essentially safety.
You can't logic out of it. It's not like, hey, let's just have a conversation about this. Like, you're being silly, relax.
Yeah. Because like your brain, your conscious brain might hear that, but if you're not then able to create the lovely feeling of safety, which is what serotonin provides you with, then your body doesn't feel safe.
It's like when I was playing basketball and the referee would say, listen, Chris, you need to calm down. I'll be like, I am calm.
Really struggling to produce serotonin right now in the middle of this basketball when I'm probably producing a lot of adrenaline. So that would be another neurotransmitter. Adrenaline, similar to cortisol, in that it's like it's always sensing for danger. People use the term, I'm living on adrenaline, but that's usually like when they're risk taking and they're about to jump off a cliff, and your body is producing all these fight, flight, freeze hormones. And dopamine is really important for mental health as well. So if dopamine and adrenaline are depleted because you have been using a lot of it initially when there is a lot of chronic stress, anxiety, over time those neurotransmitters deplete, and then you can show up as feeling even more symptomatic. I'd also be thinking about nutrients as well. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a whole episode on vitamin B6, and vitamin Bs are so important for mental health, especially vitamin B6. I'd also be thinking about some genetic mutations that that are often linked with health anxiety and also mast cell syndrome. So there's a genetic mutation called the MTHFR mutation. We've done a whole episode of that in the past as well, where essentially your body burns through vitamin Bs and even amino acids faster than, say, someone without the mutation expressing. And I've seen that linked with health anxiety very often. And also there's another condition called pyrroles, where your zinc copper ratio is out of whack. Zinc's often low, copper's high. So that zinc deficiency can affect mental health. And there's a bunch of other nutrients, but I would be thinking about that. The next area of the body would be the gut. So we have our beautiful gut and our beautiful brain, and there is a nerve called the vagus nerve that runs from the brain down to the gut, and it's essentially sending signals back and forth from gut to brain, gut to brain. So if there's anything dysbiotic in the gut, nasty pathogens overgrowing, leaky gut, inflammation in the gut, that will be sending constant signals 24/7 to the brain, which can exacerbate and cause things like anxiety. And I don't want to say, well, that's just the only thing, because we also know there was relationship abuse, there was health or hospital medical trauma. Like, there's a bunch of other real life stuff that has happened in the past too. But I think about all of these imbalances, inflammation and stressors as a stress bucket. So if the stress bucket gets too high because of all the different things that are happening inside of you and outside of you, then at some point it's going to show up as symptomatic. So they're the core areas I'd look at from a physical point of view for the health anxiety. And all of these are going to link to the mastocytosis or the mast cell syndrome and the allergies that she was mentioning and the hyperreactivity that her body has against supplements and medication. Her gut feeling that it's connected to her gut health is probably correct. I think I would be very surprised if there wasn't something going on in the gut that is affecting this condition. So for those who don't know much about mast cell or mastocystosis, like Chris.
I was like, yeah, that's me.
So this is...
Although I'm not 100% in that camp because I did a little bit of reading on this.
Well, I think the more I talk about it, the more you'll actually recognize that...
Little army of defense mechanisms in your body.
You do know more than what you know.
Me.
Than what you think you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just like to break it down into the Chris caveman style.
Well, let me give you my scientific explanation, and then you can break it down even further if it's not broken down enough.
Yeah.
So basically, it is a rare disorder. It's characterized by an abnormal accumulation of mast cells in one or more organs. So these mast cells, which are normally part of the immune system, can accumulate in the skin or the bone marrow or other organs. And mast cells are essentially little immune cells. We all have them. It's not everyone has them. It becomes an issue when your body's producing too much of them. And the mast cells, so they're part of your immune system. They're also your body's alarm system. So they're always looking out for harmful invaders, like first and foremost, viruses, bacterial pathogens, parasites. And when they recognize something harmful, they send out signals that open up your blood vessels and fill your tissues with fluid and cause your muscles to contract in your GI tract and also your airways. So sometimes they are activated when they actually shouldn't be, or too activated for too much of the time in compared to a body that has healthy mast cell activation. And a really common symptom of this is allergic type reactions and other hyperactive immune responses. So essentially it's an autoimmune condition where your immune system becomes over-reactive and it's tagging things as unsafe. Now, it might be tagging a bunch of things that are unsafe as unsafe, like, parasites, for example. But what happens with mast cell syndrome is that it becomes over-reactive. So it actually starts tagging things that are fine, that are safe, as unsafe. And that's where people can start developing reactions to things like healthy foods, especially like foods high in histamine, supplements that your body clearly needs on a lab, but why are you not responding to them in a positive way? Stuff like that. So it's very closely associated to histamine intolerance, but it's kind of like histamine intolerance on steroids, where your body's producing too much histamine. Is that caveman appropriate, or do you want to break it down even further?
What I would do, you tell me if this sounds caveman-y. I would say, a little militia in your body. Mm-hmm. Little bunch of Minutemen who can spring up at any time. You live with them all the time, and then at some point when you need them most, they jump up and they go, we need to protect, we need to serve, we need to make this okay. And if I've often done this in my imagination, like if there was a zombie apocalypse, what would I do in my community? I would barricade this entrance into our town, and I would blah blah blah, and I would set up defense systems and crossfire and blah blah blah. Your mast cells do the same sort of thing in your body.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zombies and militia.
Yeah.
Found its way into this podcast.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And it's just now dysfunctional rather than appropriately tagging unsafe things as
it's
unsafe.
like that movie Civil War. You probably haven't seen it, but then they took it to the extreme. Yeah.
Yep.
You're just yapping with me, but
yep. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, how the tables have turned.
Okay, so some common symptoms of mastocytosis. It can show up in the skin, so people can feel itchy, flushing hives, reddish-brown spots or patches, which is what this lady was referring to. Can often show up in the gut as well, because the gut houses a bunch of mast cells as well. So abdominal pain, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, really common. It can show up in the musculoskeletal system, so you can have muscle aches, bone pain. It can also show up in your mental emotional health, depression, mood changes, problem concentrating, anxiety, and also a bunch of other things too. So anemia can be associated with this condition, bleeding disorders, enlarged liver or spleen, and in some severe cases, people can have anaphylaxis. So that's a severe allergic reaction. And not everyone with mast cell syndrome has all of these symptoms, and some people do. So if I was doing some investigation looking at, okay, from a physical body systems point of view, what's under this mast cell overreaction that's happening in this person's body? So there is a really strong link between stress, trauma, and nervous system dysregulation heightening the immune system, leading to a mast cell overproduction. So I feel that definitely on the money in terms of feeling like her anxiety is triggering the masto symptoms.
Triggering. You got the triggerlings.
Slow my speech down. So it'd be doubly important then to look at the brain and the adrenals.
Triggerlings. Attack my triggerlings.
Anyway, so yes, it would be doubly important to look at the brain and the adrenals and nutrients that support mental health. So not only would this support the health anxiety, but it would then down-regulate the nervous system, and the immune system can settle down. So then by default, it's going to help with the overproduction of histamine. There's also it's research that histamine, or when you're stressed, you actually produce more histamine. So there's definitely a link there.
Yeah, you need to change from histamine to histabeing.
I think you're getting tired. Do we need to wrap this up and continue later?
I love it.
Okay.
Because it makes more sense. You're being histamine to yourself, and you need to be more histamine.
I don't get it.
Mean. MEAN. Histamine to histabeing kind.
Okay, gotcha. Now I get it.
Come on, guys.
Gut health would also be really important. So 70 to 80% of your immune system is in the gut. So the health of your immune system is going to be dictated by the health of your microbiome, or your beneficial bacteria, and also your secretory IgA, which can be tested for in a stool test. Your secretory IgA, or the short acronym for that is SIGA, is basically, it lives in your soft mucosal tissues in your gut lining, as well as other soft mucosal tissues in the rest of the body. So if that's really depleted or hyperactive, then that's going to be impacting the mast cell activation. And then inflammation will trigger an immune response as well. So from a gut perspective, I think about different pathogens, parasites, worms, viral pathogens, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut. All of these imbalances in the gut are very inflammatory. So if there's that happening in the gut, then it's just putting more pressure onto the immune system. And when that can be addressed, then the immune system can start settling down. There's also different gut imbalances that can produce more histamine. So if someone has a candida overgrowth, for example, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, these pathogens produce histamine. Now, if they're just in small amounts in your gut, it's fine. You're kind of just pooping them out. But if they're high, then your body's producing more histamine. Well, the bugs in your body, are producing more histamine, as well as your own cells are producing histamine. So any way that we can get that histamine load down, the better. And the last body system I think about as well is your detox pathways and heavy metals. So if your detox pathways aren't clearing out heavy metals or other types of chemicals or toxins from your body, then this will be another source of inflammation, another source of stress on the immune system, which can lead to an increase of mast cell production. Okay, let's get into the metaphysical side of things. So when we're talking about the metaphysical side of things, we're looking at things that we can't necessarily do a physical lab test on. So things like your unconscious mind, your neural pathways, your nervous system, the deep beliefs that you have about yourself, the patterns, the blocked trauma or repressed emotion that's stuck in your cells. And it's never one or the other, especially in a case like this where there's both health anxiety, but then there's a real physical overreaction of the immune system happening. It's not physical or metaphysical. It's always one or the other because you can't separate the two. The body and mind are connected. They're so intricately connected.
Go for it. Come on, you can do it.
Intricately connected. And if we try and disconnect them and only treat one side, then it ends up being another reductionist approach, which is common in traditional medical system. So with things like health anxiety
and self-treatment as well,
a lot of times,
because sometimes you'll just break it all up into chunks, and you'll try one thing, and then you'll try the next thing, and you try the next thing, rather than having an integrated and aligned approach.
Yeah. So this is what we're doing as we're moving into this. We're not saying do the body system stuff or this stuff. It's actually like do it together for remarkable results, and for beautiful healing.
And that's actually quite tricky to just invent a way of plugging that all together and integrating that. But we know a way to do it.
And the doors to the method that is created
When's
to
this one
do
coming?
this.
When's this podcast going live?
It will go live. Oh, actually, I think it's about the 26th of August. So our doors
are coming soon, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, in a few weeks, which is super exciting to our Ending Body Burnout method. So pop your name on the wait list.
Stay tuned.
Okay, so with health anxiety that's linked to an over-reactive system, I always think about the limbic system trauma loop. So this is basically a cycle where the brain's limbic system, so this is the part of the brain that is the fear response of the brain, becomes hyperreactive to stimuli after chronic stress and traumatic experiences, and even things like chronic levels of physical inflammation. So when the body has been exposed to all of this, either chronically over many years, or sometimes it can even be a short period of time, but very heightened stress and inflammation, the brain will get stuck in this loop where it's all it's looking for is fear and danger. It's like, where's the danger? Yeah, it's going back to what the mast cells are doing, but this time it's also in the brain. And this limbic system trauma loop is linked to PTSD and anxiety and many chronic illnesses.
Yeah.
And what happens too, so it's very, like, it's actually, now that you say it, when I was preparing these notes, I didn't even think about how similar these things are that are happening in the body. So it's like you got the mast cell overreaction. It's like, there's so many things. I've got to tag everything as unsafe. So physically the immune system is doing that. But at the same time, the brain is also doing that. And over time, it starts tagging very healthy, natural, normal things as unsafe. And this can show up as things like healthy foods, even sounds in your environment, situations, environments, even like essential oils can become tagged as unsafe, and then you're starting to react to them, light, and it becomes a really vicious cycle. So the anxiety might show up first. Well, actually, there's a vicious cycle happening in this case. So it sounds like there was anxiety first as a teen, then the health scare in the 20s, which led to the health anxiety, and then later on an abusive relationship, so more trauma there. And as the trauma loop compounded, now it's showing up in the immune system as mastocytosis. So essentially this is a body that is feeling unsafe. And there was some of the wording that we'll go back to that we mentioned earlier, but there's a belief, a pattern or a statement, I can't trust my body. So when someone says that consciously, then it's definitely also an unconscious belief. It's kind of stuck in the unconscious, which makes up 95% of your mind, and it's always going to manifest as reality. So, well, if I can't trust my body, how can I heal? Like, how can I also trust the signals that it's sending to me? How can I trust what I'm putting into it? So that's absolutely going to block, if someone has a belief like this, it's going to block their ability to heal, even if they're trying all the things to get better. So the belief must be breakdown at the start of the journey in order to be able to use any other protocols so that the body actually responds to them.
And then you were going to chat about the identity next, yeah?
Yeah.
But before you do that, I'd just like to go back before the abusive relationship. Now, in regards to all trauma's not okay. Especially, let's go abusive relationships, not okay. Not cool, not great. And it's such a hard thing to go through. And I just want you to know, it as hard and as awful as these traumatic experiences are, whatever they are, pick a thing, anything that anybody might go through. It's not happening now. It's a part. It has happened. It's back then, yeah. Unless it's a pattern that's continuing. But let's just say in this example, like it's something that's happened. That event and time and those experiences pale in comparison to the repeated accumulation of times where you've said really hard and traumatic and abusive things to yourself about yourself unconsciously. And often, if not all the time, before these situations happen in the experience, there's been a backstory and there's been a lead up into. Now, I'm not saying that these events are your fault and that this person did these things because of you, but there was stories that just made the conditions available, and now you might not be able to go back and change the actual experience, but what you can definitely do is you can change your relationship with yourself. And instead of where do I want to finish this one? Yeah, let's finish it at that. You can change your relationship with yourself, and you can go back before this abuse and before this trauma, and you can look at the relationship that you had with yourself, and you can go there, because that's something that you are still rolling with, and you can change that. You can work on that, and therefore you start to see this experience differently. Not that it's ever not going to be, it's always going to be not okay, but you'll see yourself and you'll have a better relationship with yourself. And that's the metaphysical side of things.
Yeah. So we go very deep and holistic when we work with our clients inside our ending body burnout method to rewire. So always looking at beliefs. And I just pulled out that little saying, I don't trust my body. So that's a belief, a story, but there's going to be an identity-based belief underneath that as well. So like an I am statement. And because I am this, how could I ever trust my body? So we want to rewire at an identity level who you are, because if you identify as someone who can't trust your body, or you identify as someone who is sick, who is stuck, that is where you will remain. So really working at a deep unconscious level to rewire this and to separate yourself from your illness and from past events that have happened in the past as well. And then rewiring past distressing events as well. So as Chris said, you can't go back and change the actual event, but you can absolutely change how your system's holding on to it.
Yeah.
There's so much within your power to be able to reimagine, rewrite the story, to let it go. It's not holding on to you, you're holding on to it. And so there's a beautiful process that you can follow, where you can finally let it go, and it's no longer part of your story anymore. I mean, it's just a shadow in the past, but it's not affecting your physiology and your mental health anymore.
There's been something recently in my life that I don't think I've told you the exact dates, Phil, but where there was an experience that was really traumatic for me to go through. I've had new perspective. The situation wasn't okay. It wasn't right. It was really awful. But then unconsciously, I carried through those beliefs. And I think recently I had just a different perspective on this situation, people that were involved, and especially around myself. And it just became just another little piece. So there's always some sort of different belief at an identity level that you can have, and over time you can have shifts in perspective about it. And I just remember this recent experience that my whole attitude towards, even though the experience wasn't okay, I just ran that one home. My attitude towards the person was very different. Is very different now, and that's a very recent thing for this one particular event. So
yeah,
and it's changed my whole heaviness around it.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we might end off with just some really practical rewiring tips, I guess. Like, obviously this will solve everything, but just some tangible things that that you guys, like listeners, could work with. So anyone who identifies with currently blaming their symptoms and trying to conquer them. And this isn't just like the woman who sent in this case. I know that this isn't just an isolated experience for her. I know that there are a lot of people who feel like their symptoms are fighting against them, and you're blaming them, and you're trying to conquer them.
Yeah.
So if you resonate with this, this first of all is really harsh. It's aggressive language, blame, conquer, and this will be doing you no favors to a brain that is stuck in the limbic trauma loop. It will actually cause more alarm bells. So instead, when symptoms pop up, here's some beautiful just reframing questions that you can gently ask yourself, or some statements that you can run through your system. So what if your body was fighting for you, not against you?
Yeah.
And you might even want to grab a pen after this and some paper, and maybe even journal on some of these questions. What if pain is a loving message? And what if this pain is a deeper part of you desperately wanting to be seen and heard? And how would these new frames change things for you if you started leaning into them as new truth, new beliefs? And then I'd start talking to your symptoms as if they are just a little wounded child, or the wounded child that is inside of you, desperately wanting your love and attention. And this is where some really lovely reimagination, so closing your eyes, reimagining, doing some lovely somatic work with the body to allow these symptoms to talk to you, to allow them to move out of you and through you. So even like this little process that I've just shared, this will help start breaking the trigger response of the trauma loop, as your nervous system and your unconscious mind will start relaxing into your care and leadership. All of a sudden it'll be like, oh yes, I've been trying to get your attention for so long, and now I'm actually starting to feel safe in your care. I'm not feeling like you're trying to just conquer me and fight me away and batter me down. I'm actually feeling really safe with you. And this is safety is going to be the thing that heals this. There was also the statement, I lost trust in my body and health, so I don't trust my body anymore. If this is a belief or a story, what makes this belief sticky are the secondary gains. So what payoffs, again, this might be some journaling work. So if someone runs this story as well, I don't have trust in my body, what payoffs are you getting by holding on to this story? What secondary gains are you getting? What's the worst thing about being well? What's the worst thing about fully being able to trust your body? The work we do inside the ending body burnout method, the metaphysical side of what we do, is we call that spark. And ultimately, spark solves this. But a really great rewiring practice is to start collecting evidence of healing. So, and you can do this right now. You can start by directing your brain towards evidence that you do trust your body and that you do have the ability to heal and be well. So by evidence, it might be, today when I look back at my day, there was a 10% improvement in my energy. Or, oh, wow, that situation that usually causes me to freak out, I felt 10% better in that situation. So evidence collecting isn't, I'm fully healed and I'm well and I've done it. The evidence collecting is happening as you're living your life and as you're healing. It can be also external evidence. So look back for client stories in our podcast. That would be external evidence collecting, where it's like, I found a person who has similar symptoms to me and they healed themselves. They followed this process, or, whether it's ours or someone else's. But the more that you can see that healing is possible for others, the more you can start seeing that it could be possible for you. And then when you start internal evidence collecting, so becoming your own evidence collector for how you're thinking, how you're feeling, the changes in your symptoms, your sensations, then, and you build that over time. So it won't happen immediately, and it can be really hard to start looking for that evidence because your brain is going to the worst case scenario. It's like, no, we got to look at all the things that aren't working for us because that's keeping us safe when we can stay alert and hyper vigilant. But the more that you can focus on looking for how you are healing and you can feel it, then your brain's going to look for more of that evidence, and then it becomes your physical reality.
I have two little tidbits here, and one is just before you try and push these sensations, symptoms away, sit with them in curiosity and concern and care, compassion, not condemnation. And if you were to think of, I don't know, like a little kid or some little kid that you like, or a child or friend or something like that, especially a young one that's real innocent, and you imagine just sitting with them and hearing them just, blah, just rattle off stuff. Just hear them, just as you would the little kid, with compassion and care and curiosity. Just hear them out, and don't analyze as you're going through your journaling, and as you're allowing this stuff to come up. Don't analyze, don't judge, just allow it to come up, and whatever comes up. Don't say, oh no, but that's silly, or you try and minimize it or something like that. Just let the stuff come up that comes up. Allow it to be there, and that sort of state will really serve you.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on next week's episode.
Catch you on the next episode. See ya.
Thank you so much for listening. We so appreciate you. If you'd like to give us extra smiles, drop us a review and spread the love by sharing this episode.
You can also rate your own state of burnout and the root cause contributors by taking our Ending Body Burnout Assessment on our website. And if you're interested in learning about our group or one-on-one Ending Body Burnout programs, shoot us a DM via Instagram or Facebook.
Have the best day ever.